Born around 1360 in Trocnov, a small Bohemian village within the Kingdom of Bohemia, Jan Žižka grew up in a land caught between religious tension, noble power struggles, and foreign influence from the Holy Roman Empire. His family were minor gentry, neither wealthy nor poor, land-holding peasants with ties to local knights. From an early age, Jan was familiar with hardship. Records mention that as a child he suffered an eye injury, likely from a hunting accident or early skirmish, leaving him partially blind in one eye. Bohemia in the late 14th century was a crossroads. Czech nationalism was rising under the influence of Jan Hus, the reformer who criticized the corruption of the Catholic Church. The seeds of religious revolution were already being sown, and Žižka would live to carry them into battle. By his teenage years, he had entered the service of local nobles, probably as a squire. He learned horsemanship, the use of pole arms and flails, and the handling of wagons used by merchants and soldiers alike, skills that would later become the foundation of his military genius. In the 1390s, he fought as a mercenary in various disputes, traveling through Silesia and Moravia, learning from both German knights and Polish captains. Even then, comrades noted his tactical sharpness and his ability to think like a peasant soldier, not an aristocrat.
At the turn of the century, Bohemia stood at the edge of reform. The Czech preacher Jan Hus began calling for a return to true Christian faith, denouncing indulgences and church corruption. Žižka, a deeply practical and disciplined man, found meaning in Hus's message of justice and equality before God. In 1410, Žižka appears in records serving as a soldier for King Wenceslas IV. He was involved in the Polish-Teutonic conflict, probably fighting at Tannenberg, Grunwald in 1410, where allied Polish-Lithuanian forces crushed the Teutonic Knights. This was likely his first taste of large-scale, coordinated warfare. When Jan Hus was executed in 1415 in Constance, Europe erupted in outrage. In Prague, riots broke out. Peasants and burghers united against both papal authority and German domination. Žižka, now a seasoned commander in his 50s, aligned himself with the Hussite movement. By 1419, tensions reached a breaking point. During the first defenestration of Prague, radical Hussites stormed the new town hall and threw city officials out the windows. King Wenceslas died shortly after of shock. In the chaos that followed, Žižka and his band of followers left Prague and established themselves in Tábor, a fortified hill settlement that became the heart of Hussite resistance. Here he would begin forging the weapon that changed medieval warfare, the Wagenburg, or war wagon, a mobile fortress made from linked wagons armed with small cannons, flails, and crossbows. He trained peasants, women, and tradesmen to fight from behind these defenses. For the first time in European history, ordinary people stood a chance against professional knights.
In 1420, a crusade was declared by Pope Martin V against the Hussites. Thousands of armored knights and German mercenaries advanced on Bohemia under the command of Sigismund, King of Hungary and claimant to the Bohemian throne. At Vítkov Hill, near Prague, Žižka's small force of only around 1,000 men and women faced Sigismund's 20,000-strong army. Using his wagons on the steep slopes, Žižka ordered trenches dug and gunpowder weapons placed at choke points. When the Crusaders attacked, his soldiers repelled them with a deadly combination of crossfire, rocks, and handheld flails. Within hours, the mighty Crusader army broke. Sigismund retreated in humiliation.
This victory at Vítkov became a national symbol. It was the first time a peasant militia defeated a European crusading army in open battle. From that point, Žižka's name became legend. Over the next 2 years, he perfected his Táborite tactics, combining the mobility of wagons with the firepower of emerging gunpowder. He trained his men to open wagon gaps to lure cavalry inside, then close ranks and annihilate them. In 1421, during the siege of Kutná Hora, he demonstrated his adaptability. Surrounded by superior enemy forces, Žižka ordered a sudden night breakout through snow and fog, turning his wagons into an assault column. He captured artillery and returned to counterattack days later, routing his pursuers. But his life was not without suffering. In 1421, during the siege of Robbie Castle, he was struck in the head by a cannonball splinter and lost his remaining eye, rendering him completely blind. Yet, astonishingly, he continued to lead. Guided by sound, touch, and memory, he commanded from within his wagon by listening to trumpet signals and the rhythm of battle. Soldiers said he could sense panic in their ranks and restore order with a single command.
Between 1421 and 1424, Žižka led one of the most effective military campaigns in medieval Europe. He never lost a single battle. His army swept through Bohemia and Moravia, crushing Crusader invasions and royalist forces at Německý Brod, Sudoměř, and Malešov. At Malešov in 1424, his tactical brilliance reached its height. Facing numerically superior Prague forces, he deployed wagons on a hilltop, placed powder barrels downhill, and when the enemy advanced, ordered them ignited. The explosion shattered their charge, after which his infantry counterattacked with flails and axes. His strategy combined discipline, technology, and faith. Peasants with flails stood beside priests chanting psalms, their wagon forts crowned with banners bearing the chalice, the symbol of Hussite communion equality. Žižka's leadership was built on strict moral and military order. Looting and drunkenness were punished. Prayer and preparation preceded every campaign. He called his army the warriors of God, and to them he was not just a commander, but a prophet. Foreign rulers watched in fear. The German principalities failed to subdue him, and even the Pope's repeated crusades ended in disaster. The Holy Roman Empire could not understand how an aging blind peasant led armies that annihilated knights in full armor. By 1423, Žižka's fame spread across Europe. Chroniclers in Germany, Poland, and Italy recorded his victories with awe and dread. His tactics influenced future generations, precursors to mobile artillery warfare and defensive formations that centuries later inspired both Gustavus Adolphus and Napoleon.
In 1424, while marching to Moravia to unite divided Hussite factions, Žižka fell ill, likely from plague or an epidemic of dysentery. Near the town of Přibyslav, he died on October 11, 1424. He was around 64 years old. According to legend, his followers refused to let his death weaken them. Some chronicles claim he ordered his skin to be made into a drum so that even after death, his enemies would fear his sound. Though symbolic, the story reflects the devotion his soldiers felt. After his passing, Hussite armies continued under his disciples, Prokop the Great and others, achieving more victories before internal divisions led to decline. Yet Žižka's principles endured: equality among soldiers, disciplined defense, and the belief that moral conviction could outmatch armor and hierarchy. Centuries later, the Czechs would remember him as Žižka nepromožený, Žižka the Unconquered. In Prague, his enormous equestrian statue still stands atop Vítkov Hill, the very place where he first defeated Sigismund.
It remains one of the largest bronze statues in the world. To military historians, Jan Žižka symbolizes a turning point, the rise of citizen armies, mobile tactics, and gunpowder discipline. To the Czech people, he remains a hero of faith and resilience, a man who could not see, yet saw further than any general of his time.